Hello everyone, this is Zibo and welcome to today's Ultimate Unique Hero Tier List. So before we start, I would like to apologize for my procrastination. So this list was supposed to come out towards the end of October or even at the start of November, but it kind of got delayed. So somewhere between the mid-November period. But at least that's a good news because I'm going to include Kana in today's video. I won't be including Hana because Hana just got released. So I would like to leave her in the hero pool for a while to see her maximum potential or to see more players start to use her within the different game modes. As for the ratings as well as the different general contents for this video, please refer to the part 1 of the video which I'll link on the card above for the format so you guys understand what the different tier ratings are, what I'm rating for the different heroes, as well as know what are the ratings for the different heroes prior to this one. So without further ado, let us start the part 2 of the Ultimate Unique Hero Tier List for the end of the year. Let's go. First up, we have Santa's Helper Rue. So I rate Rue 8 for Arena, 8 for Colosseum, and 6 in Raid. So let's talk about Raid first. Her position in Raid is still a very strong earth damage buffer. However, that position sort of got overtaken by Camille, making her slightly less viable there. So make no mistake, she's still good in the earth team if you do not have Camille or Bari, because she completes the chain and she boosts your whole team's earth damage. However, Camille just does way better in guild raid and does earth damage as well, so that's why she's kind of overtaken in that aspect. And in terms of damage output wise, Rue does have the damage, but she doesn't offer much in terms of resistance down or defense debuff. That's why she doesn't really seem so optimal in raid itself. So she's a good earth buffer, but not the best right now because there's just way better earth units for damage output. As for Arena and Colosseum, she will dive to the backline, and if the meta permits, right, if it's a water favored meta, I think she's gonna be really good because as we've seen in Sohi's case right now, Sohi can actually go to the backline and finish off all the light units before they can do a lot of damage. So Rue being able to do the same make her quite valuable within the Colosseum, and she's actually very prominent in a very good archetype, which is the Earth team within Colosseum right now. So if you guys have encountered a really stacked Earth team within Colosseum, it's a nightmare to deal with because the Rue will dive to the backline, and because she's very tanky, she's gonna survive for quite a while and she's gonna deal a lot of damage to your backlines. And that's why it's really strong there. That's why I give her 8. For Arena side, I give her 8. Not because she's weak, she's one of the most broken unit in the mono earth comp right now. However, like I mentioned, versatility is a thing I consider in terms of rating my units. So she's pretty much locked into the earth team and nothing else. That's why I only can give her 8. But make no mistake, mono earth right now consisting of Camille, Rue as well as Muriel is one of the most broken comp in the arena compositions right now, but her party buff sort of limits her versatility. Next up, we have Archangel Gabrielle. So Gabrielle is the queen of everything, being able to do PvP and PvE contents all at one go. So she's excellent in Colosseum and Raid, right? She's super good in light raid teams and can slot her into any range team due to her critical chance party buff. Just slap her with an elemental bow and she's good to go. And she's also a good unit in Colosseum, commonly seen in mono-like teams, as well as some teams which require a bit of damage boost for her crit buff, as well as a heal that she can provide for the team. So yeah, she has a lot of things in her kit that makes her a really good unit, very versatile one as well. And there's practically no place where you can't use Gabrielle. Maybe perhaps just your Tower Horizon because there's elemental lock. But if you want to use her in Camazon, she's good. You want to use her in Colosseum, she's good. You want to use her in Raid, she's good there as well. In terms of Arena, she's still usable. She's a good counter for most of the dark units out there. And the reason why she can't be higher and the reason why she's not commonly seen is because the range crit team isn't really as prominent as it used to be. And due to Arena being a thing right now in Arena counters Gabrielle really hard as well. That's why you don't see her running around as much. But make no mistake, Gabrielle is overall one of the stronger units in the game right now. She's also really good all around. So invest in her if you want a versatile unit that can do a lot and still be good in the things that she does. Next up, we have Drunken Swordsman Lin. So I'll straight up give Lin an S tier because of two simple reasons. Number one, she changes the way you should play when you're against her because you really need the injury negation card so that she doesn't appear so scary. At the same time, she's really versatile in terms of team building for both Arena and Raid, and her being a fire element counters one of the most prominent element, which is Earth right now, with a lot of good units running around. That's why she's a really good answer to the current meta, And she herself isn't weak. It's really easy to chain with her, and she deals decent damage if you know how to pilot her. So overall, she's a decent unit, right? Even though she's not so good in Colosseum because of water AI and fire just being weak, but you can still see her running around in mono fire teams once in a while, and that team is actually pretty solid if it's really high stated. And lastly, in terms of rate, I think she's just very versatile. You can slot her in almost any melee teams due to the way she chain, due to her damage output, and due to the ability for you to equip a lot of different elemental weapons, right? There's a lot of one-handed sort of the different elemental weapons, so that's why she's quite good there as well. So overall, I'll just give her the S tier because of the wow factor that she can provide in Arena, as well as her general versatility. Next up, we have Future Knight. So Future Knight is a 6 for Arena, 9 for Colosseum, and 8 in raid. So in Colosseum, I think she's a fantastic unit there because of her party buff, as well as her damage output. Because her bullets are able to pierce through target, so she can deal quite a bit of damage. Her body buff also allows you to make your leader use weapon skill faster, so being able to enter chain faster can actually win you the game sometime. And she's a basically must-have for basic raid teams due to her damage output as well as her basic elemental debuff. However, weapon skill regen speed party buff is on the weaker end for Arena, so she's not prominently seen there. She's probably one of the best weapon skill regen speed unit because Sohee, Yuze, they are slightly on the weaker end, so she's a bit better. And in terms of team compositions, you have quite a few teams to go with her. You can go with the basic team setup. You can also go with the weapon skill regen speed setup. You can also do the Veronica team setup. So she's okay in terms of Arena, but not the best unit to run. And her overall versatility is slightly lower due to her basic centric kit. That's why I can only rate her A tier, because overall she's a solid unit being able to run in multiple contents, but it's much better to have her in basic team setups. Next up, we have the chosen one, Veronica. So Veronica is a unit that can become super strong if you have additional weapon skill regen speed stacked up on her. However, she's relatively normal under normal circumstances, so that's why you don't see her being commonly used. So in Arena, she's a 6 because she has the very solid weapon skill regen speed Veronica comp, and that comp is really strong in case you guys haven't faced one before. And for the Colosseum side, you can actually try her out with Future Knight. Basically, one of the best partner to Veronica is Future Knight. So if you have Future Knight, you can try to pair her with Veronica in both Arena and Colosseum, and I think it's going to be quite solid there. Although she's not the best unit and probably not the best team comp to play, but it's still strong. It can beat most teams, and she can also beat meta units if you have the correct matchups as well as the correct maps for her to perform. And in terms of guild rate, she's a really strong unit there. She's able to provide a damage boost, a universal party buff in terms of skill damage, as well as a crit chance buff. So she has everything in her kit that makes her a really good supportive unit in the guild rate itself. So that's why overall I'll give her A tier, because she's a solid unit and an even better one if you're able to slap some weapon skill regen speed on her. Moving forward, we have one of the most meta-defining unit, and that is Necromancer Noxia. So Noxia is very commonly seen both in Arena and Colosseum, and that just dictates her power level, right? She's really powerful. Her presence alone just shuts down a lot of unit within Arena itself, such as my favorite Nari, Future Knight, as well as a lot of other basic units that are reliant on their range attacks. At the same time, her spirit is so good in terms of being a mid shield. You run her within Colosseum in nearly any teams and she'll be really solid there, because you can summon the spirit multiple times within Colosseum and the spirit can soak up damage for the team and provide a taunt as well. So in general, she's just really amazing in both Arena and Colosseum. However, she's not that good in raid because of her party buff, and that affects her damage output tremendously in terms of that game mode. So overall, I'll still rate her at S tier because she's really meta defining in the things she do, and she's really gonna last for quite a while. Next up, we have Mariel the Alpaca. So Divine Beast Mariel is a really solid unit in both raid and Arena because she has speed, earth resist down, a lot of burst damage, as well as a very easy to chain weapon skill. So that makes her a really good standalone unit in Arena. You don't really need to even pair her with Bari to make her good, because her kit is just so good on her own, right? If you have a Bari within the raid itself, it will make her shine even better due to increasing her damage output by 30%. So that's that going for her. But in terms of raid team, you don't need a Bari, but you need a Mariel, because Mariel can provide a lot of damage boost with the earth resist down that she provides. In terms of Arena, she fits into quite a bit of teams. In terms of mono earth team with Kamel, Rue, as well as herself, You can also put her with 2 tanks and make her the main carry for the team. You can also run her in range crit team, such as Kamel, Mariel together with 1 tank, or even just run her in a full damage team consisting of 2 range as well as 1 crit buffer. So she has quite a bit of versatility there, that's why I grade her a 9. However, she's not the most meta-defining unit, that's why she won't go higher than 9. She's strong, but not the most common C unit. Next up, we have MK99. So I rate MK99 9 across the board, not because of her name, but rather she's really solid all around. So firstly, let me talk about Colosseum and Raid first. She deals massive damage as a ranger in her sniper form. So within Colosseum, you have very little means to actually go against her. Like, she's very well protected at the backline. So she's gonna stay in her sniper form and deal a lot of damage. So she is very solid within the Colosseum itself because her attack is able to pass through multiple targets and it deals a lot of damage. So in terms of damage output, she's one of the best damage dealer within the Colosseum, next to probably Kamel and maybe Gabriel to a certain extent. So that's why she's really good there. And she's also commonly seen in multiple teams other than your Monolite team. You can also see her in teams which are lacking the range buff, and maybe people will just slot her with Kamel for double range buff to make the Colosseum team even more scarier. And we also have the Raid side, so she's a really good range attack buff, right? Range attack buff is the most powerful buff within Guild Raid right now, because range attack damage dealers, they are really powerful, and most of the range attack party buff units, they are rated really high in terms of rate on my list. At the same time, her weapon is the gun, so the gun has a lot of exclusive weapons for many different heroes, so you have multiple copies of those weapons in your inventory. So for the fire weapon, we have Elvira's gun. For the water weapons, we have Rachel's gun and Orca's gun. And for the basic weapon, we have Future Knight's gun. And for the earth weapon, we have Rule's gun. So if you guys can have all the different guns readily available, you can slot Mark 99 into your raid team to boost your damage output even further. In terms of arena, I think some people might find it controversial. Why is she still a 9? She's not commonly seen. But let me tell you this. There was a period where Mark 99 was super duper solid, and that was before Kamel as well as Arena existed. So these 2 units sort of remove her from the existence, not because she's weak, but rather because this unit counter her in one way or replaces her role in one way. So for Kamel's case, Kamel is a better range attack buffer, so you rather use Kamel as the range attack buff compared to Mark 99. And in terms of Arena, she's basic, she's a tank, she counters her element, and she deals very well against rangers. So in total, the reason why she's seeing less use is not because she's weak, but rather because she's just countered by the meta right now. However, in situations where Kamel can't be used, and if your opponent doesn't have Arena or can't use one, Mark 99 is still a super powerful unit that has really no answer to it. It's super duper hard to actually dodge a shot sometimes because of all the latency issues and stuff, and that makes her even more scarier in a lot of cases. Next up, we have Demon Queen Lilith. So Demon Queen Lilith is a 10 for Arena and 10 for Raid due to her massive assets. So which assets am I referring to? Number 1 asset is referring to her defense debuff, and number 2 asset is the massive damage coming out from her weapon skill, as well as the easy to chain nature of their weapon skill itself. So if you combine these 2 assets together, you get a super amazing Arena unit as well as Raid unit. So raid wise, I don't think I need to explain too much. I already talked about all the defense debuff shenanigans, so I will just leave it as 10 there, right? She's just really good. She can put on a lot of different claws to fit into many different teams. And for the Arena aspect, I think she's really good there, because right now one of the most prominent unit in the Arena is actually Kamel, and the other one is Arena. So Lilith is a good answer to these 2 units. That's why she's really like the anti-meta hero. And she's also a really solid unit that has very little counter, and you can rely on skill to actually win with her, because her chain skill hits really hard and is able to chain really easily. However, no matter how good she is, you can't really fix her warrior AI in Colosseum. So that's why this caused her to be a 4 for Colosseum, as she will position herself in weird locations, eating weapon skills or tanking up 3 enemies. So yeah, I use her myself in the KR server, and I can say that sometimes she just kills herself, and that's not something that you want for the Colosseum side. However, you can try to make her work in the Colosseum melee teams, and yes, that team is strong, but it's on the weaker spectrum in terms of the whole Colosseum ranking. So I will recommend you to use her in the Colosseum, but if you don't have other heroes, it's actually doable within your melee Colosseum team. Next up, we have Trickster Lucy. So Lucy's tier rating might be questionable for some people because a lot of people deem Lucy to be a really weak unit. So Lucy is super duper good in raid, right? She's fit into most of the off element teams, such as your water team, your earth team, if you can find the respective weapons to give it to her, because the massive damage boost that she can provide for your team is just insane, right? Crit hit chance plus crit hit multiplier as well as a further attack buff makes her a really good unit. At the same time, within Arena itself, I'll give her a 6 because she's serviceable there, but she's really frail and you really need to plan around her, right? You need to build a team around her to make her stand out within that team itself. So that's why she's kind of reliant and she's not super duper good. But you know, she can still fit into your standard teams, your range crit team, your defensive comms, your weapon skill regen speed comp. So she's okay there. Probably not a must-have unit because you know she has a lot of good answers for her. And yeah, I don't think normal people want to run her because you're gonna suffer a lot. And in terms of Colosseum, she's also kind of weird in terms of her targeting mechanics. So this will cause her to position herself in weird positions. So she's not the best for Colosseum, but I'll say that she's serviceable because her party buff is universal, right? And she provides a massive damage boost for your whole team. Okay, next up we have a fan service character, Scientist on the Beach Sohee. So Sohee is an A tier unit without a doubt. So why is she an A tier? Because she's really good in Arena, Colosseum, and Raid. So she's not the best, but she's really good there. So in terms of her playstyle, she works similarly to Beth. She press the attack button and then press the weapon skill button every time the cooldown is up. And her weapon skill has really low cooldown, so that makes her a very spammable character in terms of weapon skill. And for the Colosseum side, why is she way better than Beth? The reason is very straightforward. Because in terms of Colosseum, she will die for the backline, and her weapon, her EX weapon, the surfboard, is able to unleash an AoE attack every few seconds. So this makes her a really good unit to disrupt your enemy formation, and especially with Light being a very prominent element within Colosseum itself. So he is definitely going to see some use if you do decide to run a melee team within the Colosseum, because you will need her party buff for that team setup, and you will need her uniqueness to die for the backline for that setup. However, for the Arena side, I would say she's slowly being power crept, and the key culprit is definitely Arena, because Arena is another basic unit, and being the better one amongst the two of them, I'll say that most people will choose to run Arena because people will want to run tanks compared to having a melee unit, because tanks are just more universal, and you won't really want two basic unit in your team because you do not want to be countered too easily by Noxia nor Lilith. And yeah, probably you will see the two of them together if you have a mono basic team, but that's that, right? In most cases, most people will choose to run Arena over her, and that's why I'll say that in terms of popularity, she has definitely dropped, and because her playstyle functions like Beth, I'll say that if better basic melee attack unit comes by, I think Sohee's gonna see a tremendous drop in terms of usage. And after the fan service Sohee, we also have the fan service Yuze. So Yuze is a surprisingly weird unit, right? She's supposedly stronger in the arena with her party buff, but right now I think she's way more solid in raid. So I rate her at 8 for raid and 5 for arena and Colosseum. So why is she good in raid? In terms of raid, she has a defense debuff from her normal attack, so you can equip her with any sword and she can apply a defense debuff to provide additional damage for your whole team. So specifically, you want her in the melee teams. And at the same time, if you do try to use her as the leader with her weapon skill, she's able to provide a massive attack buff to your whole party when she uses her whirling pool attack. So that makes her a really good buffer as well. And yeah, she deals a surprisingly good amount of damage as I can observe from the different Korean clips, and that's why she's really good there. However, you can't really slot her into range teams, and weapon skill regen speed just isn't the best damage output party buff. That's why she's probably not going to go higher than 8. And I would say she's passable for Arena and Colosseum, but not very optimal for those game modes. Because in Arena, right now, weapon skill regen speed, like I mentioned, isn't really the best party buff, and there's just way too many counter for Yuze. Mel is the biggest culprit. You also have Mariel, and to a certain extent, Mono Earth team, because Rue is also very solid in the arena right now. And yeah, you probably don't want to run her in the arena aspects if you have to face Earth units. And for the Colosseum side, I'll say that she's not bad, but the thing is, like, you know, all the buffs that she can do in the raid she can do in Colosseum as well. But I think it's just something to do with the AI, and that just makes her a lesser unit for Colosseum. And I probably won't recommend you if you want to build her for the Colosseum. But in general, I'll still rate her a B tier unit because she's definitely a good to have unit, but not a must have if you don't have one within your hero pool right now. Finally, we come to a unit that's super niche, that doesn't have a fit in all rule kind of thing, and that is the Goddess of Wealth, Eleanor. So Eleanor's kit is strictly for the light team. She probably won't work in most setups outside of the light element. So she's a tool for arena because she's just bad there. Don't try to use her. Like, she's really hard to use because she has a very slow charge up time and she doesn't do a lot of damage. And her party buff is very weak in terms of arena because skill damage is not the best, and when you combine with light attack, I think most light units don't appreciate this kind of buff in their kit. And in terms of raid and Colosseum, she basically is the strongest light support in the game right now because she provides so much for the team. An attack up based on the number of light characters for your whole team, and a light element resist down in her chain skill, as well as a whole party heal every time she attacks in her normal attack, makes her one of the best support unit, if not for the light element restriction. However, due to that restriction, I cannot give her any higher than a B tier because she's super duper niche, and if you're not building the light element teams, then she's probably not a must have. So that's why I think she's only a B tier unit. After Eleanor, we have Flame Harpy Scintilla. So Scintilla is a 9 for arena, 5 for Colosseum, and a 7 for raid. So she's a 9 for arena because she's really versatile there. You can go headstrong with her, diving in, ignition, and then just right click your opponent down. Or you can run the dodging game using her ignition to dodge skills, using her ignition to dodge weapon abilities as well as normal attack, making her a unit that can play different styles based on the matchup that she faces. At the same time, she's probably the only solid counter to Kamel, being able to apply a fire resist down as well as deal massive damage to Kamel, which doesn't allow him to heal up as fast. However, a Kamel with Earth Necklace can actually even out with her, so that's one thing to take note of. In terms of raid, I think she's pretty much like all the other melee units, a decent melee attacker. But then again, I think Scintilla's maximum potential is in the fire team, so I won't recommend you to go for her if you don't have plans to focus on the fire element. For Colosseum side, I don't think I need to explain too much. Warrior AI plus melee plus fire just makes a really bad combo. But if you have all these synergies together, it makes a good team in the Colosseum as well. Next up, we have Legendary Warrior Arena. So from her name, you can tell that she's meant for Arena. She's the new queen for the game mode and a counter to some of the powerhouses such as Future Princess, MK99, and many ranged units. So she's basically the bane of mono-light teams within Arena, and she does her job really well there. However, she's not that strong in other contents due to a lack of taunt as a tanker, so she can't redirect damage to herself, and she's not as hard-hitting as most warriors, so that's why she's probably just an A tier for me, and yeah, that's why she's just that. But she's really strong in Arena though. And after a legendary character, we have the god level character Kamel. So Kamel is a straight up god tier character. I don't think I need to speak too much about him. He's good in a lot of game modes, right? Arena, Colosseum, Raid, you name it, he does it. Just pull for him if you haven't done so yet. And after a god tier character, we have another character which we can call sort of like trash tier. Not because she's bad, but she's just not very good in the current meta. So in terms of Raid, right, Dark is stronger on the melee side. So if you try to run her in the Dark range team, yes, you can sort of form a team around Arabelle, but Lilith, Beth, Lupina, they're just way better raid units. So that's why Mark II is kind of bad right now. If in the future they do have a Dark unit that provides a range buff, I think her usage will rise quite a bit, but right now not that good there. In terms of Arena, I think she's usable, but she's relatively situational. Personally, I feel that, it's a unit that really requires a lot of team building around her. She's not a unit where you can build up and then expect to perform well in any teams. And she doesn't really fit well in the usual range crit up type unless you have the advantage over your opponent. So namely fighting the basic units. But in most cases, I think it's just okay because the weapon skill takes quite a bit to chain. So if you're fighting against a 2-hit chain hero, you're gonna suffer quite a bit there. And if you are saying that she gains movement speed and she's good, she only gains a 10% movement speed, it's okay, not very major. And that's why as a whole, she's a passable unit. but probably not the best you want to have on your team for versatility sake or for really strong power level sake. And we have the second last unit on the list, and that is Mercenary Orca. So I would like to put it first, right? Orca is a really good unit. She has a range attack buff, she has water resist style, and her weapon skill chains in 2. So overall on paper, she's a really solid unit. However, I put her a 6 for Arena and 6 for Colosseum as she's born in the wrong time. Because Camille is so impactful, Camille dictates both the Arena as well as the Colosseum. So within Arena, you have a lot of Mono Earth teams, you have Camille teams, and you have just tanky teams centered around Camille, and that makes it such that Orca is going to have a really hard time there. In terms of Colosseum, Camille is one of the most prominent unit in the game mode, and Camille does really well against water teams. So if you want to run a water team for Colosseum, you're going to pray that your opponent's Camille is either weak, or pray that your opponent's Camille's AI is kind of bad. So that's that, right? So in total, she's a good A tier unit, really solid for it with all her buffs and kits and stuff, but just born in the wrong time. Finally, we have come to the last unit of the tier list, and that is none other than Druid Kana. So Druid Kana is a solid B tier for me, right? Not because she's weak, but because she's not versatile. Because she's good in Arena only in basic melee teams. And the thing about Kana is that her strength lies in her being basic as well as mean. So if you pair her with basic and range, such as basic and Nari, she's not going to get the same buff and you're not going to get the same results. So her best partner is probably Sohi right now. And in terms of rate wise, she's competing with Eva, right? Together with Colosseum. So in terms of Colosseum, Eva beats her out, right? Eva is just a way better Colosseum unit. And in terms of rate wise, you got to try to piece around Amy, piece around Sohi, piece around Knight to make the melee basic team, right? So that's one team you can feed her in. But outside of that team, you can also slot her in your standard basic setups. She can do very well because she has a defense reduction. However, outside of the basic element, you can't really find a role for her because her party buff is just that for basic parties. That's why I grade her B tier. And yeah, this is the final summary for the tier list. So in general, both S tier and A tier characters, they are pretty versatile in different game modes. So if you do happen to invest in them, you'll find yourself with a lot of choices in terms of the game modes that you want to play. In terms of B tier, I'll just say that they're either too niche for their game modes, or they are too niche in terms of the team that you're building. So they are not that bad if you are fulfilling a certain team criteria. Like for example, if you want to build Mono Fire team, Pure Vice is super good. But outside of that, not very good, right? If you are building for Marina, you are building her for Arena's sake. So that's why she's B tier. So that's the take for this tier list. And for C tier wise, they are super duper niche, right? Invest in them based on your personal liking. And the strongest unit in the whole character pool right now is none other than Camille. So invest in him if you're just looking for all-rounder, super duper powerful unit that can do everything. So yeah, that's it for this tier list. Hopefully it's helpful for you guys. And do remember to click like and subscribe in order to see more videos from this channel. And I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys!